Welcome to the International Friendship Center and English for Survival C1. This is Lesson 4. Remember that you are required to spend 2 hours between classes studying and reviewing previous lessons. You will have an exam over all of the lessons at the conclusion of this course. Open class discussion. What are the topics of the lessons we have covered in lessons 1, 2, and 3? Refer to the next slide as a reminder after open discussion. Here are the topics we have covered so far in this class. This is a brief review. In Lesson 1, we did introductions. We studied the 3 most used or common English verbs and their forms in the present and past tense, such as to be, to have, to do. We learned the use of what is your name, where are you from, are you married or single, do you have any children, if so, describe them, where do you work, what do you love the most about living in the U.S., what do you miss the most about your country, what important things about yourself are interesting. In Lesson 2, we named the sounds of the 3 regular past tense verb endings: id, t, d, id, t, d. We learned correctly how to form and pronounce the past tense ending sounds of other regular verbs. We studied the 4 rules for forming the simple past tense of regular verbs. And we looked at the forming the past tense of regular verbs. In Lesson 3, we looked at the use of the definite and indefinite articles, the use and difference of to say, to speak, to tell, to talk. And we learned the present and past tenses of the above. Here is a check on learning that we covered in lessons 1, 2, and 3. You are not permitted to use notes. Follow this with a class discussion on the correct answers. Here are the answers to the exercise on the previous slide. Your teacher can discuss these with the class. Number 1, to be, to have, to do. 2, id, t, d. 3, the answers could differ on this one. 4, traveled, shopped, stopped, ordered, stayed, enjoyed, learned, returned, studied. 5, a, and, the. 6, the, a, an, the. Note the H in honor is not vocalized, so it begins with an O sound. 7, talking, told, saying, talking or speaking, speaking, telling. Now we are beginning Lesson 4. We will study the following topics. 1, the English modal verbs. 2. The use of shall, will, and should. The use of modal verbs. For class discussion. What is a modal verb? Name some common modal verbs. See the next slide for an explanation after class discussion. Let's start with a pre-exercise. A modal verb is a type of auxiliary verb that is used to indicate modality, that is, likelihood, ability, permission, and obligation. Modal verbs include can, could, may, might, must, will, would, shall, should. These verbs do not conjugate the same as with other verbs. In this exercise, students should close their notebooks to complete it. This is to know if you understand modal verbs before studying them. Directions. Circle the modal verb in each sentence given below. Example, I could find out my test score next week. Circle the word could. The word could is a modal. Check your answers below. 1. He shall bring the food very soon. 2. We can definitely win this championship game. 3. May I sit down now? 4. You should stop smoking because it is bad for you. 5. I would go to Atlanta with you, but I'm sick. 6. It might rain today. 7. I must go now. 8. Can you help me lift the couch? 9. I ought to tell the truth to the teacher. 10. Could you pass me the ketchup? Modal verb tutorial. What are modal verbs? Modal verbs are special verbs which behave very differently from normal verbs. Here are some important differences. 1. Modal verbs do not take an S in the third person. Examples. He can speak Chinese, not he cans speak Chinese. She should be here by 9 o'clock, not she should be here by 9 o'clock. 2. You use not to make modal verbs negative, even in simple present and simple past. Examples. He should not be late, or he shouldn't be late. They might not come to the party, or they mightn't come to the party. 3. Many modal verbs cannot be used in the past tenses or the future tenses. Examples. It's incorrect to say can go with us. She musted study very hard is also incorrect. Again, here are some common modal verbs. Can, could, might, may, must, ought to, shall, should, will, would. Here is more information on the use of modal verbs. Modals are followed by only the base form of the verb, not the infinitive, and are not used alone unless there is a clear connection to a main verb. For example, it is incorrect to say he must to finish his homework. To correct it, you should say he must finish his homework. It is wrong to say Jack could heard the bell. To correct it, it must be Jack could hear the bell. It is wrong to say Penny will going to the movie. To correct it, you would have to say Penny will go to the movie. Now have students write sentences on a sheet of paper to share with the class. Use 5 of the following modal verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs are used to moderate the main verb, that is, to enhance or restrict the verb. Notice the usage of modals in the following sentences. I can pay my taxes. This expresses ability. I have the money to pay my taxes. I might pay my taxes. Expresses possibility, but not certainty. Maybe I won't pay. Maybe I won't pay my taxes. I will pay my taxes. Expresses future intent. I resolve to do it at some later time. I should pay my taxes. Expresses responsibility. It is required and I expect to comply. I could pay my taxes. Expresses possibility. If I have nothing else to do with the money, I might pay taxes. I would pay my taxes. Expresses reservation. If I had the money, but I don't. I must pay my taxes. Expresses strong obligation. I am required and have to do it. Additional modal verb explanation and examples. To show respect and politeness, most people use modal expressions when making requests. For example, will you? Will you open the door for me? Would you? Would you open the door for me? Would you please? Would you please open the door for me? Could you please? Could you please? Could you please open the door? Could you possibly open the door? Would you kindly? Would you kindly open the door? Would you mind? Would you mind opening the door? Would you be so kind as to? Would you be so kind as to open the door? Here is an exercise on modals to see if you have learned the concept of how to use modals in English. Choose the most correct modal form. Can, could, might, may, must, ought to, shall, will, would. Students should complete this exercise individually. Afterwards, let students compare answers. They go through the answers with the entire group. There could be more than one answer for some of these sentences. Here are the preferred answers to the previous exercise. Number 1, I could go for a swim if I wanted to. 2, students must not use notes on the test. 3, can we have a break at 10 o'clock? 4, be careful with that broken glass. You could cut yourself. 5. Can you come to my party? 6. I can or could not say such a terrible thing. 7. I don't know who wrote that letter. It can or could not be Mrs. Johnson because she wasn't in the office that day. 8. I think you must or should tell your parents you're going to be late. 9. You can or could be a little more polite. 10. You should, ought to, or must apologize for being late. To be continued on the next slide. Number 11. 20 years ago, I could touch my toes. Today, I can't. 12. Will, could, or can you take this to your teacher, please? 13. Yesterday, I could not arrive to class on time. 14. May I sit here, please? 15. Drivers must or should obey speed laws to avoid an accident. 16. He could play the piano when he was younger. 17. When would you like to meet again? 18. When will the magazine be published? 19. I could or couldn't walk without a crutch last year. 20. I should or could or ought to practice English every day, but I'm too lazy. Now let's look at the uses of shall and will. Shall is used to express the simple future, as in, shall we meet by the river? Using will often expresses determination on the part of the speaker, as in, I will finish this project by tonight. Using shall in second and third persons would indicate some kind of promise about the subject, as in, this shall be revealed to you in good time. The distinction between the two, shall and will, is often obscured by the contraction I'll, as in, I'll put out the trash tomorrow. In the United States, we seldom use shall for anything other than polite questions, suggesting an element of permission. Examples: shall we go now? Shall I call a doctor for you? In the second sentence, many speakers would use should instead, although should is somewhat more tentative than shall. In the U.S., to express the future tense, the verb will is used in all other cases. Further explanation of uses of shall and should. Shall is often used in formal situations, legal or legal documents, minutes to meetings, etc., to express obligation. The students shall be responsible for doing their homework. The teacher shall prepare each lesson. Should is often used to mean ought to or ought not to, as in, student shouldn't, ought not to, eat in class. Student should, ought to, report to class on time. In British English and very formal American English, one may hear or read should with the first person pronouns in expressions of liking, such as, I should prefer iced tea. And in tentative expressions of opinion, such as, "I should imagine they'll vote conservative," "I should have thought so,"